Yeah,
You
right.
guys
Here we
made
go.
it a good team.
I
That's good.
know it's helpful, right? It's super helpful.
So
Thank you,
welcome to week
Amy.
5.
Yes. So we're talking about goals and outcomes. And before we dive into that, though, did any of you have any updates on your mission statement, your what? Okay. All right.
Negative.
Excellent. Now, just curiosity, when you watched the video of the SMART goals versus FIRE goals, what did you choose and why? Or did you create your own thing?
So I posted mine just a few ago. I'm very familiar with the SMART goal format. So we use that all the time in exercise science world. And but I did incorporate one of the fires, and so they piggyback off of each other a little bit. So I liked that.
Yeah, the incentive is kind of fun. I mean, I like getting rewards. I don't know about anybody else, but
I have a hard time with that one actually, because I'm like, I just do it.
yeah, yeah, you like give yourself incentive regardless. Is that?
It's kind of like I don't give myself any other option.
Okay.
It just
Nice.
happens, right?
Yeah. Denise, Carla, Terry, what about you?
So for me, go ahead, Carla. You go
No,
first.
you go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say we could rock, paper, scissors it, but I'll put that on the side. I'm actually behind this week. I had said last week goals aren't necessarily my thing.
That's all right.
And last week I had a really busy week, but that's like an excuse. But I did, I looked at it yesterday and the day before. I will do a fire goal. We use SMART goals at work, and it just made it seem like I was making me do,
nails on chalkboard.
PPP for the year, which you never end up doing because everything you're going to do that year changes anyways. So
yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm a bit behind this week. I apologize.
No worries. So it's all right.
So I used SMART goals because I already knew how to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So Denise, I was only going to talk because I saw you were chewing something. And one thing about me is
healthy snacks.
If there's a lull, I am very uncomfortable with silence.
Oh.
So I'll usually inject some humor, when somebody's being silent or speak up. But then, then no one ever gets to talk. And that's not me being hard on myself. It's just looking at both sides. So I don't use these methods in my job, which would probably be a lot more strategic if we did use them. And it forced me a little bit to, sometimes I can't look above the trees. Like what are your goals this week, Carla? And I'm like, well, I have to get this done. I have to get this done, but I'm not seeing like the long-term roadmap to reach my ultimate goal, right? Which is my new North Star and getting out of a toxic job. My goals are usually defined as, getting this proposal done, sending this briefing with the updated fiscal year numbers, and it forced me to look at the long-term strategy.
Can I say, it sounds like you're putting out fires. You don't even have time to breathe and create the SMART goals. Does that sound right?
Well, thank you, Karina, for your grace and observation. I think, when people say they're busy, it used to be like a badge of honor. And to me, this is not me being hard on myself. I'm just being pragmatic. It just means for me, I can't manage my time. Someone said, you ask the busy person because they'll get it done. Right? So it's, yes, I get asked to do a lot. Could I reprioritize those efforts? Could I say no? Probably not. But yeah, it's my activities, but it's also my ability to kind of like stop and breathe, which is why I put prayer and meditation on my goal, even though that
All that's
Yeah.
good for you, Carla. That's nice.
very centering.
Yeah, good girl.
I
So,
just want to
yeah,
add
go ahead,
that
Amy.
the in my professional life, SMART goals was something I was really familiar with. The FIRE goals were relatively new for me, and Karina, kind of to build on what you said, the concept of rewarding myself was
Mm,
really quite foreign. I was like,
mm.
oh, I can be nice to myself. This is fun. So, Denise, as you're looking to create yours, it might actually create a little more enjoyment in goal setting. If there's a reward baked in. So I just wanted to kind of dangle that little carrot, because I feel like you're viewing goals as a stick.
Well, you know what it is I'm really hard on myself if I don't meet the time commitment, which can happen.
Oh, sure.
And
Amen.
and so then I end up in this unhealthy loop of, well, I said I was going to do this and I didn't do this. And then that makes me a bad person. And it just, when you do have say in your everyday job, you have a heavy plate and you're trying to prioritize everything. I've just found sometimes it overwhelms me.
Yeah.
I can
makes sense.
appreciate that. Yeah, especially when I used the word should a lot.
Mm.
The guilt was the shoulda.
I know, that's great.
I found a picture and I can't find it again. And it was like a sloth or like Chewbacca with almost like a Ghostbusters thing. And he's sitting on the toilet with his laptop and all his IT nerdy things. I wish I just saved it then. It was hilarious because
Wait, come sit beside me. Come sit beside me on the shoulda.
I'm glad there's one for me.
That's not creepy at all. Oh my God, that's funny. Oh, funny. Oh, that's
So,
great.
yeah, Denise, I think should and guilt go hand in hand, and they've
Right.
been bound up around goals in the past for me anyway. So,
Yeah.
As we work on the language, hopefully that will feel less heavy for you.
Wonder too if part of my perspective with goals and setting SMART goals is having a reassessment period that you can alter some of those things. So for example, if you go in and you're like, I think I can do this so many times a week, and then you realize like 2 weeks later, you're like, there's no way I can accomplish this. So you go back in and reassess. That way it's like less about beating oneself up and more about that realistic component.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And also being gracious with ourselves to say it's okay to hit the reset button. It's okay to, kick this can down the road, as long as we're not kicking all the cans down the road, right? I mean, that's also, I think, we aren't gracious with ourselves. I think that's to your point, Denise and Carla. I mean, it's like we beat ourselves up if we don't get X, Y, Z done. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do today is everybody's going to get 10 minutes to go through the why, the what, and the how. And I made this easier for everybody. I pulled the why out for everybody. If I had your what, I pulled that out. And if I had your how, I pulled that out. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen that way we'll have the data, and then we can decide who wants to go first, and we'll just go ahead and dive in. How's that sound?
Good.
Okay, so who would like to go first? It's not in any particular order. Denise, I know you've got some work to do, so we can circle back on, but let me actually give me your what?
I'm going to pull them up now. So if we can circle back and then I'm
sure. All right. That's perfect. Yep. That's perfect. And if you just want to pop yours in the chat, that'd be awesome. And then I'll just add them to here. All right. So who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Awesome. All right, Carla, here you are. And so I pulled this in so people can read it, and I'll read it out loud. So Carla, your why is to support others by jumping in to solve problems efficiently as a forward-thinking utility player, getting stuff done as the enforcer
Mhm.
with levity, tenacity, and practicality. That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that enforcer part. Your what is to go from a strategic communications and outreach consultant to deputy director or director of operations or chief of staff, something like that. If all I were to accomplish was being a thought leader for an organization that values and needs my critical infrastructure skills, contributing to the mission, getting stuff done, and having fun, you would be satisfied.
Yes.
Cool. And then let's talk about your how. So I know you're a little bit ahead of the group as far as, diving into this because you have your pyramid done. But you started, so you complete market research and assess current gaps was one of your goals. And then create an action plan for existing garden to explore opportunities within. Develop a branding package which includes professional brand and resume, and then prayer and meditation. How do those goals feel now that you're actually starting to execute some of this?
Well, so first I do have to start off by thanking this group because you have given me an opportunity to be accountable. The crocodiles closest to the boat will always win the day. So this was not getting done. My what, I know I'm talking about my goals. So I'm going to hold my pinky up until I get
that's
to
all right.
this, but
That's fine.
so for my, not my what, what's the first one? Wait,
For your
I
why?
failed.
Your
What's
why?
the first one? The why. Okay.
Yep.
So, well, actually this speaks to the why and the what. I was an executive assistant a long time ago working for like really important people. And, I didn't like that role only because people treated you like a secretary. And then I expanded into program management, strategic communications, doing a lot of data and telling stories with data, and all that was really great. But what I realized is in this new environment, our new contract has me listed as strategic communications. And so I'm not good with designing, I'm good with messaging, but not, these graphics. So I feel like a fish out of water. And it was really by Michelle and Amy's help that helped me articulate that I do like to be like the chief of staff who, shows up every morning. It's kind of like the price is right. You have no idea what is going to happen, but you're going to solve it by the end of the day, become a subject matter expert and, hexavalent chromium or whatever, right? So, so I'm enforcing the vision of the leader. So I have their back. So, so thank you, Amy and Michelle, for helping me get there. Because like I said, I was always kind of against like the executive assistant type thing, right? And being a program manager, I think is rewarding, except people suck. I mean, you have to listen to their problems. And as an enforcer, I don't have to.
Yes.
I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so sounds like we're going to write a slide together. Okay, so that was my why and the what. Thank you, Michelle and Amy. So then my how was a little bit more, again, thank you, Michelle and Amy, a little bit more enlightening. Okay, Carla, so now you have your North Star. Now it's time to set up some goals to get there. Like take it out of the shoulda in the dreamland and execute it, where the rubber hits the road. So, so in order to look for positions, I did some recon research, okay, and looked at what the positions were and what gaps I have. I also, spoiler alert, sorry, I'm going to do it. Eventually, for me, eventually one might want to consult, just like the phone a friend, consult with their colleagues or superiors to see if, hey, do you think I'm qualified for these jobs? And that was hard. Okay. So that's looking at market research, assessing current gaps. Cultivating the existing guarding. I have fought Michelle and Amy on this because in contracting, you eat what you kill. So the crocodiles closest to the boat, the eat what you kill is writing proposals. And, you know, I'm knee deep in one. So I haven't taken a lot of time. And then with COVID, you know, like back in the day, I would do like informational coffees, right? If I wanted to job hunt, like, hey, you know, I'm looking to, you know, to move to this. What do you think? You know, do you know of anything? Okay. And then that puts the pressure off for them to actually find me a job. Okay. Develop branding package with resume. So, you know, combining all my resumes, it's like 45 pages long.
Yeah, that was fun, Carla.
Yeah. And Michelle can confirm that. So this again, through prayer and meditation and, you know, taking a lot of walks, you kind of have to, and with Michelle's help, thank you, you have to jumble all this 45 pages of content and put it into a strategic communications document that is focused for your intended audience. Over.
Nice, Carla. And so for Denise, Terry, Karina, if any of these goals feel good to you, feel free to steal them from Carla's goal sheet. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That's why we're having this dialogue. If you look at it and go, oh, that would be super helpful for me, based on where I want to go, then by all means, grab it and use it as one of your goals as well. And because next week we're going to dive into the actual actions and what to make it tangible, tactical, how to execute it. So thank you so much, Carla. Who wants to go next? All right, Terry. Go. So here is your why. So I'll go ahead. So you guys can see it, but I'll read it. To make a difference by solving problems and filling the gaps for others through the keen art of listening and perspective. Connecting with people on a deeper level by understanding what makes them tick, being the protector for those that need help by coming to the rescue and lifting others up so they truly see their potential. I love that. I love the protector part of it. I don't know, what resonates with you the most out of that, Terry?
I muted. Oh, okay. We have a real deep divide within our company of really seasoned people and millennials. And the more you guys kept focusing me in on the protector part is that mentorship that I think I could provide then to the, you know, next generation. I have to be careful because, you know, you want to immediately, you know, tell them how to do things, and yet they have a unique experience and, you know, their own unique values and everything that they would bring to the proposition. So, but I don't think their voice is heard very often by seniors because we just know more, right? That's always when you're in a meeting, that's I'll say that's what comes through, right? Is that, you know, the seniors talk and the millennials are supposed to listen. So that's what kept resonating with me is it would be a stretch for me, I think. But I'd really like to, you know, eventually either mentor at the very least or manage, you know, millennials.
Nice.
And I'm saying millennials, but it's, you know, that 25 to 35 year age group, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll have to say they're undervalued in our company. There's a huge turnover there, you know, and, you know, some of that may be that they just aren't moving up as fast as they think they should. But I think a lot of it is then they don't have their own career paths and things to really clearly understand where they're going. So the more I kept thinking on that, on my why, the more that resonated with me.
That's cool. That's really cool. Did the what change for you at all, or is this still accurate to go from managing projects to managing people?
Yeah, I just think, you know, probably I'm expanding it, you know, on the managing people part, right? And I put maybe mentoring and managing people.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was getting at.
Cultivating relationships. Saving America's future.
Yeah. I like that. You're welcome, America.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that protector thing is so like enforcer was for Carla, protector for you, Terry, feels very personal and specific, and I like that that's been incorporated. Yeah.
And I think you know, obviously they don't need to understand that that's what you're doing, but when you manage a team, that really is what you're doing. You have their back, right? You're when people escalate to you, you're not throwing your people under the bus for sure. And you're cultivating them. And then at the same time, having them, you know, a really high functioning team, you're going to, you know, coach them and mentor them into, you know, maybe some things that they, you know, possibly could do differently to, you know, handle a situation the next time. So anyway, I really like that.
And like what Denise had said a couple of weeks ago about when someone just doesn't quite get the corporate culture, having that pre-meeting, the side conversation, so they present their already great ideas in a manner that will be well received. That could be protecting too. It's all of those things. Yeah. And yeah, they don't need to know like I'm being mama bear about it. You're just helping them excel in whatever way that is. Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I'm trying to do that with my nephew. My nephew is an amazing person, but he's way too much like me, and not always in a good way. In that he's stubborn and he thinks at 32 he knows more than everybody else on the planet.
Of course he does.
He's gotten his MBA from Rice, and I got an executive MBA from Georgia Tech, and I try and tell him that, you know, the subtle differences between the two. And he doesn't want to hear anything about it. But I found a couple of positions within our company that I thought he'd be good for. He lives in a really remote area in Kansas, and he used to be up to a year ago in Houston. So he had a great job. He was going places, you know, and his trajectory was, you know, the sky's the limit. Then they moved to this little tiny town in Kansas, that the only thing there is a university, and he can't find a job. And he's finally working way underqualified, selling door-to-door kind of things, like cold calling. I mean, awful job, drains your soul very quickly. And so I've been trying to coach him on how to get the position, how to position himself. And he didn't even get considered for one of the jobs. And yet I think he was a good candidate for it. And so now he's listening, because that was something he really wanted. He saw the value of it. And it's a remote job, which he'll need, being in this little tiny town. And there are not that many of them, you know, in the world for him to get, and that meet his specific qualifications. So I found him another one last night, and we had a good 30-minute conversation on how to streamline his and how to, you know, get in the door. Nice. And he finally was receptive. And I'll have to say the first time he wasn't at all, because he knew more. And I mean, you know, he's my nephew, so I can say that. But you know, and he now sees that he shot himself in the foot. And so I went back to the why statement, and I said, you know, I want to help so much, you know, and so how can my message be different to get through to him. And I think it did last night. And so we had a really good
Nice.
conversation. So
How did that feel to do that, to actually do that work, Terry, with him?
yeah, I mean, terrific. And I mean, from a personal reason, you just hate when people are struggling and aren't where they want to be, right? And so happy that potentially he at least has possibilities again,
Yeah.
and just seeing that excitement in his, was so good. So normally we just talk to the grands and they entertain me for 30 minutes and we move on, but he sat down and talked to me. So it was great.
I love that you're seeing the connections of your why to that, like that personal example, how you can pull it into work, the different opportunities that this opens up for you. That is really cool. It's really cool.
I love that story.
Yeah, I do too. What are some of the goals that you kicked around, Terry, as far as getting, having your what aligned to your why? Have you thought about that yet?
So the goals that I did were about how to get to that next level of managing people, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So the first I put was apply for, there's going to be a PMO manager position coming available. So I want to apply for that when it's available. And then I realized I wasn't really specific and timed enough. So I want to apply for it by May 1st. I think that will be out before May 1st. And then that's not my only career path. I put that I want to apply for 2 additional manager positions within Worldwide, because I want to stay within the company by March 15th. And I think there probably are enough positions out there to get that. And then my stretch goal is to see if I can talk to the hiring manager. She and I have had I know who she is and, she knows who I am. And I think I can talk to her about it. The stretch is work with that hiring manager to tailor this PMO manager position to my qualifications.
Cool.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, that's good.
So
I love that. We have so much dysfunction in our PMO. We need someone like you.
right. There are few functional PMO groups, I think, which is a shame because everybody in a PMO organization should be functional. That's kind of the first skill.
I love, so what, Terry, this goes back to, I think, when we first chatted, how you are, that's super targeted and thoughtful, targeted, thoughtful, and purposeful with navigating back to the what, and then ultimately to the why. So that's awesome. Good job.
I also added, like the how, the precursors of this was that I met with we have 2 career paths that are predefined at Worldwide, either an engineering manager or a PMO manager. And so I met with an engineering manager and a PMO manager to determine, if those career paths were options I wanted to pursue.
You had already done that, right? Yeah.
I have already done that. Yeah. And then I loved, was it Carla's that said, create action plan for the internal opportunities. Like I need to figure out more how to break through those internal opportunities and not just be another resume that they receive.
So you want to steal this goal, steal this from hers?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. And I cut you off.
Right. So that's why I put the talk to the hiring manager, like that would be the next step. So it'd be create the action plan and then talk to the hiring manager. But anyway.
That's so cool, Terry, because now that you are clear about your why and what, a conversation is so much more purposeful. When, like, I know what I want, and and oftentimes we don't get what we want because we don't articulate it, but sometimes we can't really put it into words as succinctly, but you've got it now. So that conversation can be conversational and very much in line with where you want to go. I love that.
Yeah, and what's cool is being able to pull in the mentoring component to the conversation. If you feel it makes sense, and we'll talk about this as we get into the actions, it might also be cool to share the why with her, right? That'd be neat, so that she sees, this is why I get up every morning. This is why I work here. This is what drives me. That'd be really neat to have that conversation. If you feel like that would be okay to do with her. Nice.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks.
Who would like to go next?
Go next if you want.
Awesome. Okay, so Karina, here is your why. I'll read it. Empowering others by creating a safe space to be vulnerable through self-reflection and compassion. Using nature as a way to ground during the process of discovery, celebrating aha moments, new perspectives, and ways to be more resourceful. What's the one of the words or a couple words that really get you when you look at your why?
Being able to be vulnerable and the aha moments and new perspectives are pretty big for me, because I find there's oftentimes we get in like these blinders on to how things should be, and based on conditioning maybe or behavior patterns throughout our lives, that self-reflection is, I guess that's a really big one, because, and especially with, I mean, being in this group with you ladies has been fantastic, because I can just getting the input and seeing what your own goals are and your realities. It's given me so much a broader perspective, and it gives me encouragement to seek out something that Carla had mentioned, where it's like feedback from others. I've worked for myself for 20 years, and the concept of having to work for someone else terrifies me. Did it for a couple of years as a nurse, and it did not end very well. And so I don't like that. I don't like that. I have that fear around working with others, but man, they can be such a pain, and they're, you know, I don't like it, because I will try my best. And if I don't know the expectations, like how communication is so key. So working for myself, that takes that out of it, right? Like I'm in complete control. I don't have to worry about what anybody else says, but it also kind of caps my bank account number at the end of the year. I can only do so much.
That's true.
So it's very restricting. So yeah, so there's that.
And your what is, I love this, it was interesting that the reciprocity really hit you, right?
Big time.
To go from depleting my cup to receiving reciprocity. So you want to share what that means to you for everybody?
So when I work, I space appointments out wide enough so people don't see each other. They get all of me. I ground myself. I make sure I'm completely present in all avenues for each client. And it's exhausting. And I love it. Like I love them, but I notice that I need to take more and more time off for myself to be able to give that to others. But I think it is a requirement in this work, because people notice the difference. So I think creating one or two other forms of income where I'm not having to use all parts of myself, where I can have others come in and bring parts of themselves in as well. So I've got two different things this has been culminating over the last couple of years, and it's coming to fruition. Like the timing of this is super awesome, but one is creating continuing education courses for other massage therapists. And the other one is teaching people how to move from the ground up.
Mm.
So I got my bachelor's in exercise science. I definitely, that whole analysis paralysis thing, I feel good about this certification because it is so detailed and supportive in teaching me how to teach others. I know that there's going to be some like trial and error, right? But I've taken other courses that just they don't provide enough information and guidance because they're afraid you're going to steal their stuff, so these people give you so much information and guidance along the way. I've got tons of tutorials where I can feel more confident because I don't want to hurt anybody, that's important. So I do really like another thing Carla had, which was the developing brand package. So that's
Sure. Let's steal it. Let's steal it.
Steal
All right. Stealing it.
love
Let's
it.
stealing it.
Yeah.
We're just
One-
repurposing.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's right.
It's
I love
great.
it.
That's right.
So I've been, a lot of it's kind of interesting because, like my business is like that one thing. So that takes up a lot of time, but I'm trying to slowly get these other things going so I can back out of that business. I still want to do it, but I don't want to do it as much as I am. And so teaching other massage therapists in the area is going to be a really good component because there's not many people here that do the style I do, right? So if people, hopefully I'm doing this kind of field of dreams style, right? If you build it, they will come. But
Yeah.
I am doing a little bit of networking and market research by scheduling massages with the therapists in the area so they can get to know me. And then I can see what they're good at and also ask them things like, well, what kinds of things would you like to learn? Would you be interested in learning this? So it's kind of a networking thing that I'm doing to see what my opportunities, where they'll be.
And so, Karina, is this, did I capture this correctly? Create a program to teach others to perform bodywork specialties? Is that articulated right or not?
So I'll be creating CEU courses
Okay.
for other licensed massage therapists. Yeah.
So it was two things, Michelle. So one is creating CE courses for other licensed massage therapists.
Mhm.
And then there's the other thing. Karina will have to describe.
The MoveNet, it's moving your body. So there'll be like a series of like how to breathe, how to crawl, how to pick things up, how to balance.
Yeah, teach people how to move.
Yeah, teach them how to move.
Okay, so just help me wordsmith that so I know how you want me to articulate that. And Amy, you can help me.
Let's see. Prepare MoveNet workshop.
Move.
MOVNAT. Yep,
Workshop. Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And the one
Okay.
above, Michelle, is simpler. Create the CE course for licensed massage therapists. Drop
Okay.
the to teach others to perform body work
Yeah.
specialties. Yeah.
Okay.
She's
And I'm
teaching them how to
already-
be safer at their jobs. So
Oh,
Gotcha.
big time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've already contacted the state board of licensing to find out what I need to get accredited. So really it's just getting the meat and potatoes of the course done to submit to them. So
Nice.
so things are in motion in a good
This is
way.
good. This is
Yeah.
there's a ton of clarity for you here, Karina, as far as how all this ties together.
And I think that a lot of this is just, one, it's helping me organize things a little better so I don't fall into that analysis paralysis and get
Mhm.
overwhelmed. And two, having the feedback and support and insight from others has been fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you. Good job, Karina. It's good.
nice.
I love it. And I'm
Yeah.
proud of you for being your own business owner because I'm too scared.
know, I was about to say that terrifies me. I tried selling Mary Kay once. It ended horribly. You know, you liked Mary Kay because it was like paint by number. Take icon number 1, put it here.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
right
that's so funny, Denise.
I know,
I
I'll
really
always cut
appreciate
people
that.
off. But
Thank
I
you,
could,
guys.
I could never
That was
own my own
awesome.
business.
Yeah.
It would not be a path of success for me.
Yeah, this is good stuff. All right, Denise, you're up.
All right. I
So-
have my what. Obviously, I don't exactly have my how, but hearing everybody else's how has given me a few ideas.
Good. Well, let me read your why for everybody.
Yeah.
So, to keep projects going and lend a helping hand by empowering others through social intelligence, inclusion, and research, connecting the dots by listening to people, collecting information, and using tribal knowledge as a human cloud to fix problems and advocate with fairness and honesty.
Yeah.
What is the words that just jump out at you, Denise, for that?
For me, it's the social intelligence. Like, I think my what was to go from being thankful for opportunities to expecting opportunities. That can be added. But for me, it's social intelligence. So Carla, like you said, you had made a comment about people that they stay. People would be like, Denise is the IT therapist. And people would send people to me to listen to their problems. And especially younger employees, like I have a friend, Bill, he moved around pretty quickly in the company and he landed with a boss who I love this person, but I could see how Bill and Johnny Smith would not get along. So I'd listen and I'd be like, well, have you thought about trying to approach it like this? John is typically busy. Don't go up to him 5 times a day. You're going to piss him off. Try first time of the day, a couple times a week. So like, I like helping like that. And in project management, I'm good like that because I work with a lot of egos and I'm good at knowing that people know that they've been heard and that their input is valuable to keep a project going.
Nice.
I
So for
think
me, it's
that's
the social
awesome.
intelligence.
Because
inclusion.
being a mentor, even the 360 assessment was hard for me because, people benefit from feedback
Right. Yeah.
and being heard.
Yeah, they do. They do. And I can even see it with somebody who's more seasoned, right? Like my company is very good with the millennials to the point that a lot of older employees who have been there for a long time are starting to feel a bit threatened. So making sure that you give those people who've been there for a long time a space to talk is important. For my what, there's one thing I would add, like it says from being thankful for opportunities to expecting opportunities, but asking for it as well. Not like sitting
and
there.
asking. Yes. Nice.
And it ties into the data security. I, if possible, I would like to stay where I'm at Wellington. I think like a bunch, I've been given a bunch of different projects to keep me busy because that's kind of how our CISO operates. And just because of the situation I've come out of, I would like to lose data security. But I think I need to get it to a certain place before I can move on. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess one of the hows is getting the data security program to a place where it's ready to be passed on to
Call that
somebody else.
like wrapping it up and putting the ribbon on really pretty. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it's ready to be jettisoned to someone else. Yeah.
Right, because if I do that, those people that I'm, that team I'm working with would be more than happy to help me move into something somewhere else because that's how my company is.
Nice.
For the most part, with the exception of my last team, you're always trying to promote the people who are on your team. And I had a touch base last week with, I say my boss's boss, but we're all relatively friendly. We know that this isn't my strong suit. And I was like, yeah, no, it's not my strong suit. The other two do well. He's like, well, if we can get it to this place. And it's like, okay.
Nice. That's good. So you're already starting to have the conversation.
Well, yeah, because I had said to him, because he's like, Jeff says you're doing great. Data security, Jim says. I was like, I would agree. And we talked through some of the things that are happening. And it's not really just because if something's not going well, it's always my fault to me.
Mm, mm,
And that's not necessarily the thing. I don't escalate up enough.
Hmm.
So when I need muscle, I'm not good at sending the muscle always.
okay.
Like, but I was able to accessible. I really like doing the stuff for the production stability board. I like larger reaching projects across the department, and those keep getting pushed.
Mm.
But I'm like, I would like to do more of that, and I made that known. And so
Good job.
I exactly know how. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get points for that. That's how it starts, right? To asking,
Right.
just actually starting the dialogue around it.
Right. So
Were there other hows from anybody else that you want to steal or grab or use?
I think I need to work on my brand, but I don't know how to articulate it.
That's all right. That's part of what we're going to do. So we're going to get to
Right.
that place anyway. So let me find that one. We'll grab that one since that sounds good.
I've been at the same place for between being a consultant and a full timer, over 14 years, almost 15 years.
Mm.
So that first time I'm 44. The first time I interviewed, I was 29.
Wow.
So
how does this feel to you? This create action plan for existing garden to explore opportunities within. Does that resonate with you?
it does, because like even this morning we had a department-wide meeting. The whole structure of the company is changing, which I think is a good thing. Before it used to be like us versus them, IT versus the business. And now we're blending into one. And I know, in the year or two, there are going to be new opportunities, new responsibilities, and I'd like to be ahead of that to find where I could fit in the new organization. Maybe it's not
Nice.
in information security, maybe it's in corporate security, but being open and I guess having my eyes open to opportunities in different departments.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's awesome.
Huge.
Can I give a Carla-ism?
Sure.
Oh yes.
Okay, so when I
I'm
was getting
picturing
my
the
MBA
buddy. I'm picturing the buddy going, come over here, sit right here.
the bunny, come on. So in my my executive MBA program, we had this class called organizational behavior, and that's the class where we did a 360 assessment, interestingly enough, and they were all
Yeah.
anonymous. They went back to the professor. That's not the story I'm telling, so let me put my pinky up. And the professor said, you scored yourself harder than your boss, your colleague, and your subordinate. But anyway, there's this term. When an IPO or an acquisition or merger happen, there's something called cultural indigestion. So you could say there's cultural indigestion between, the baby boomers and the millennials. You could say there's cultural indigestion with the dynamic growing global data security supply chain needs, right?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like Denise and Terry are trying to resolve that cultural indigestion to, I'm trying to think of a word like gastronomically pleasing or something. But cultural indigestion, I thought was a good word.
Yeah. There's
Thanks,
a lot.
Carla.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear amongst us in IT. Well, what does this mean for me? Because a lot of us on my side, we don't have investment knowledge. If you're on the teams that have been designing and supporting the applications all along, you're going to fit in better. But if you're on the team that was just supporting the server in the background, you don't have that high touch knowledge. Like, if your server's up, if the firewall is working. If you want to ask me how a trading app works, good luck. I have a hard enough time even managing my, my retirement account that's managed by my company, so it's intimidating a little bit for those of us coming from the infrastructure side.
You know what's awesome, Denise, is that what the mindset that you're developing is one that Terry has right now. That she, that as far as now, I'm being proactive. I'm looking to see what's out there. I got my ear to the ground. I'm starting to have those conversations and the dialogue. So I think that's going to serve you well, making that shift.
Yeah, I have a funny story, and I was reminded of it. One of the data security reviews I was doing was with our director of our corporate security, and he worked for John Hancock for a long time. But this guy's connected. I think he knows like every Boston police officer. We used to joke, oh yeah, he even calls the president. Like this guy knows everybody. I hadn't talked to him in almost a year just because it's been COVID. And when I was doing disaster recovery, I worked very closely with him. And he says, hey, Denise, I've kept tabs. You're doing very good. Hang in there. I know you you had a rough patch. Don't worry about it. You're doing fine. I've checked in on you. And you're like, okay, John. Like you believe John.
Thanks, John.
Otherwise, he's the one you could be like, hey, John, I need your help. And he'll be like, I'll take care of it.
Aww,
So that was encouraging during this timing when everything is changing.
Yeah, that is encouraging. Awesome. Yeah. So good work, ladies. So I will make sure that you have that data that I captured on screen. So you have the whole bits of it. Yeah. And what we'd like to do now is I'm going to kick it over to Amy we're going to do a little bit of feelings and desire map stuff. So Amy, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so there's an author I'm a complete freaking fangirl for. Her name is Danielle Laporte, and she's written a couple of books, but the one in particular that I like is called The Desire Map. So I'll give you kind of a brief overview of what it's about. So her main tenet is, we work really hard, but wouldn't it be nice to enjoy the journey versus just busting your ass and hoping that the finish line actually feels jubilant. So what she encourages people to do is really think about how do you want to feel more often than not. So she refers to them as your core desired feelings. She's got a book and all that stuff too, but I've actually mentioned this to some people and they just sit around and think about it and they come up with the words. I'm not that genius. I actually had to do the whole process because I'm that kind of person. But what's really fun is she, until this year, she sells daily planners that actually have a spot where you write your core desired feelings every day. And so what it does is just makes you mindful to look for those little moments where you can feel those feelings or you create opportunities to feel those feelings. So, so I introduced the concept to Michelle. Michelle just, banged hers out real fast. I happened to tell Karina about it. She did the same thing, just blew them out. I'm like, wow, you guys are freaking amazing. I had to spend 2 whole days holed up journaling to the end of my life and finally got to mine. And so one of mine is joy. But my version of joy is different than my friend Shannon's version of joy. My joy is wind chimes or a toddler laughing. For me, that's how I would describe that feeling. Another word for me is open, but I picture bamboo, being blown around, but it stays strong, but it's really flexible. So, but someone else's open might be a door or window or I don't know, whatever. So what's cool about this concept I wanted to introduce to you guys while we're creating your action steps is when you read your desire or your intention and you read your mission and you start to bubble some of these action steps, what feelings are coming up for you guys? Is there anything that you're starting to feel a feeling that you're like, ooh, I kind of like that feeling. That's feeling pretty good. Is anything coming up for you guys? Karina, you can probably start because you actually already have your core desire.
Well, I want to insert one thing too.
Yes.
So when you look back at the things you get lost in, right? That might be a good. What's the feeling that comes with you getting lost in whatever that thing is? It's another way to look at it. The feelings that come up for the stuff that you're doing and why you do it, that might be another take on slicing this. So Karina, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so Amy was awesome and gifted me this book during the beginning of the pandemic, which was a very helpful thing to me. And one of my primary words is alive. And to me, that means pushing my uncomfortable boundaries, doing things that I don't like doing and then failing. And then when you achieve that, just, that feeling inside is like, yes, I did this. So, and this is actually something that I live by this a lot. The decisions that I make a lot of the times are, does this make me feel alive? And yeah, so that's a good one.
Nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything coming up for you, ladies?
The first thing that came to mind for me is challenge, right? Because the opposite is bored. I get bored very easily. I blame it all on my dad and us moving as military kids, but within 3 years, I have to do something different. The first year, I'm completely content learning something new, doing something, really delving into the details of it. The second year, I feel like I've hit my stride. And the third year, I'm looking for another challenge. So challenge, and that's sometimes personally, like I, taught martial arts, and then I was like, okay, what's my next challenge? Okay, I got my executive MBA. Okay, now what's my next challenge? So I took lessons to learn to play tennis. I start my first lesson tonight to learn pickleball.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I've wanted to learn that. Everybody talks about it, and I'm like, I have no idea what it is. So I bought a paddle and balls, and I'm going to take lessons tonight. I used to play piano, so I'm like, okay, what else can I challenge myself? So my sister bought me a digital piano for Christmas, and so I started taking lessons. And I used to play a lot when I was younger, but I haven't played since I was in my 20s. So I need a challenge to keep, I don't know.
It energizes you.
Not getting bored. Yeah, stimulating me. I need a challenge, either personally or professionally. But when I hit a 3-year mark, if I don't have that challenge, I mean, like,
You're checking
I'll
out.
I'll just sleep through work. Literally,
Yeah.
it doesn't. There's no reason to get up if I don't have that challenge.
Thank you, Terry. Denise or Carla, any words that pop out for you?
The one thing that came to mind for me, you used energized, but I was thinking jazzed. Like if I have a really good, deep conversation, whether it's, say politics or just listening to someone and feeling like you help them by listening or them listening to you, I just get totally jazzed. I'll be like, oh, I had this great conversation with Dan and da-da-da. And I'll tell me, oh, that's nice. Like for me, it was real fun because that doesn't motivate him at all, ever, and he's got better about listening. Oh, that's nice, but like that's like the thing. I'm like, oh, this is great,
That is cool.
I would say I got that from my dad because my dad, he's showing early signs of Alzheimer's, so it doesn't happen as often, but we could talk for hours, about politics or something. And sometimes it would be good conversation. Sometimes it would be heated. We both can have a temper, with each other, but those are the things I always liked. And you just get like energized. You're like, that can carry you through the rest of your day.
I love that, Scar. Love that. Love it, Denise.
Yeah.
Carla, yours?
Okay, so first I want to say, all right, cultural indigestion may not be as funny as the other two, but for Terry and Denise, I feel like you guys are providing a more harmonious company culture, right? Like the harmonization of like people, because that's, even with technology, it's like people, process, technology, it's all about the people. Not really skilled at, identifying my feelings, but thank you for everyone else going. This isn't really a feeling, but the balance of mind, body, and soul. So the mind is, working on a difficult briefing or doing a proposal or planning an awesome trip, 5 countries in 10 days. The body is, more like in what Karina, my posture is horrible. And if I don't get up and, stretch, I think Amy, you said something about being outside. Maybe you didn't say being outside, but when you're talking about, not the bamboo, but when I go outside, I live in Arlington, but there's trees. And when I go outside, I immediately take a deep breath.
Mhm.
You know, it's like the wind hitting your face. It just reminds me that it's not just me,
Mhm.
right?
Carly,
So
your word might be balance.
Hmm?
I like the mind, body,
yes,
soul for sure, but yeah, balance might be a word for you.
yes, yes. And I do sacrifice the body and soul. And, you know, even the soul part, you know, I've had to send 3 sympathy cards this week.
Mm.
Like 3 people died of cancer.
Oh
And,
boy.
you know, I want to write something thoughtful, but that actually, it used my mind, but also helped my soul.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. So I know we're at time. Next week, we're going to dive into actions. So you'll see a video and a worksheet for that. Well, Carla, is it okay if we share some of your actions with the gals? Because you might like, I'll take that one. Thanks. Right? It might jumpstart, and you know, certainly you can use them or not use them, but it might actually jumpstart some of your actions as well.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Feel
Any
free to
questions?
share.
Okay.
Um,
Awesome.
and
Thank
then
you.
next week, I'll talk about my 360 assessment, or I don't need to.
Yeah. No,
But
I
Amy,
think that would be
thank you.
helpful.
Yeah,
If it's
it's a good prequel.
Exactly.
Like it.
I won't be here on the 17th.
Okay. So why don't we'll look at, because I will look at how to work that for you, Terry. You know, let's just chat about what that means and how to make sure that you have what you need on that week.
Are you gonna be
I don't-
partying for St. Patty's Day, Terry? Is that why we won't have you?
I think I'll be flying back. My sister and her husband and I are going to Miami
Oh,
on
cool.
vacation. So
Very
we leave the
nice.
13th
Very
and we come back the 17th. And I think I'm literally in the air
Gotcha.
during this
That's
time.
a good reason to
Okay.
miss.
That is a good reason. All right, ladies, you have a wonderful day. Good
Hey,
work
you too.
today. And we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Amy.
everyone. Have a good one.
You
Bye
do the
now.
same.
You can stop recording, Michelle.
Well, that's right.